The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everybody. Good morning. It is, let me get everything arranged on the screen. 10 o'clock right on the dot. We're going to see if I can see the counter counting up a little bit. There are still a few people signing in. So let's get right on down to it. Good morning and happy Thursday. I hope all is well with each of you where you are today. My name is Brian, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the next session of the CAD Office webinar series. Today is Thursday, December 5th. I hope everybody had a safe and happy Thanksgiving. I know Thanksgiving at my house was really good. Got to see the parade. The food was good. My turkey was good. And I did a sausage apple stuffing, which was banging. Got to watch some football. Family didn't get out of hand, if you know what I'm saying. And we're actually right now into the full Christmas season, the swing. I got 2 trees up. One of them's actually decorated. So we are moving and grooving in the positive direction. And speaking of moving in the positive direction, we have a great session for you today. This morning's webinar is going to be on FDOT Civil 3D 2025 Geotech tools. Your presenter this morning is none other than the one, the only, the amazing James Griffith from the FDOT CAD office. And full disclosure, this presentation, along with the latest schedule of webinars, was developed for the 2024 flood, which unfortunately we all know was brushed aside due to Hurricanes Helene and Milton. So this session is pre-recorded. All attendees will be in listen-only mode for this webinar. Please submit any questions you have to the question dialog box. We may attempt to answer questions as we go, and time permitting, have a QA session at the end of the presentation. It is our intention to record this presentation and post it to the CAD office website. It's the same resource you went to access the registration link for this webinar. So just backtrack and find it again. As we go along here with the transitions, if you lose audio during the webinar at any point in time, please know. Oh, James is saying anyone on the phone won't hear the video. Ooh, okay. So yeah, I guess that's a good tip. You should be on the computer. And if you do lose audio though at some point in time during that transition, please know the quickest way to remedy that situation is to disconnect and reconnect to the webinar. Simple, easy peasy, and go to Have No Fear. We'll record the entire time that you're on and combine all the times and such like that. So. For this training, continuing education credit will be issued to the PEs who attend the live session and who attend the session in its entirety. Certificates will be delivered to the email address in which you registered and logged into the webinar with. And with that, I am going to turn it right on over to James. Bear with us.
Hello, and welcome to a class on the Geotech tools for Civil 3D 2025. My name is James Griffith, and I am one of the CAD developers at FDOT. And I will be going over how to use the new Geotech tools. Now, one of the first things that I wanted to do in this class is kind of give you a speed run. I was very happy in how this came out. My current best speed of going from nothing to a complete drawing is about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And so I just kind of wanted to throw this in here and show you how quickly you can create a drawing and get from the start to actually having cut sections and the labels and the whole 9 yards. So I'm just putting up a timer, and we'll go ahead and start the speed run here in a second. I'm going to move this a little closer, give myself the best overall chance. And here we go. So, AutoCAD is opening. And just so you know, I will be going into much slower detail on this in just a few minutes. So what I'm doing now is going ahead and attaching our references and moving in the data shortcuts. Now we can go ahead and pull in our alignment. And so now we're actually using the Geotech tools. I've already created the XML, so I'm skipping that portion, which I'll go into. Now, I've created my cut sections, but I haven't actually put anything in them. It's just the surface elevation. And now what I'm doing is going through and doing the projections so that those boreholes are actually going to show up. So now what I'm doing is adding in my data and my labels for each of the components of these cross sections. Same thing, giving it a place to connect to the data, giving it a place to place the labels. Now we have labels in our cross sections. I am going to fill in those labels by going back to the XML and using the place label tool. So now what I'm going to do is update the layout inside of those views, and look at that. Nice and pretty, 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Best time so far. Now what I'm going to do is show you how this actually works in a much slower version. So first of all, we're going to open Civil 3D 2025. I'm going to create the new drawing, our Geotech drawing, so that we can load that information in correctly. I'll go to the FDOT tab. Now we're going to go over to the Create File tab. So in this, we've got a bunch of different options in here. We can change it from roadway, the Geotech file, or we can go to our structures and then change it to the Geotech file. You can set your county or your coordinate system. If you know your coordinate system, you can just use that. If you don't know the coordinate system, but you know the county that it's in, you can actually select that here. I'll change that to Leon. Didn't change. But if I change it to none and then go back to color, you can see it updates the coordinate system. So now I'm going to go back to the roadway. We're going to use the boring file type and go ahead and create that file. Alright, the file looks like it's created. I can verify that up here at the top. Now what we need to do is actually start referencing in some of the alignments and the surface model. So I'll do that by going to Data Shortcuts, setting my working folder. The working folder needs to be the projects folder with all of my projects in it. Data Shortcuts project folder. So we'll click that. We'll make sure that we're on our correct project. Click OK. As soon as that's done, we now have our surface and alignments. You can see right here, we have all three of our alignments and our surface model. I can right click and create reference. Click OK. That's now in here, and I'll do a Control Z, Control E to show you everything and the extents. Now I can select individually and add these. In the speed video, I can select all three and do them all at once. So just note, you can either select all three and do this one time, or you can go through and add individuals as you need them. So now we have our surface and alignments, no boreholes. We're going to go into the Geotech Data Manager and kind of walk you through this. So this is the Geotech Data Manager. We can add files directly into this by clicking File, going to New, and then inputting that data directly into this. And all you have to do is click Add, give it a borehole name or borehole ID, and fill out this information in here. Not going to really add a lot in here, it's just really a sample. You can add your lab test data in as well, and all you have to do is type those in individual values. And as you add them in, you can see it gives you a new line. You can click Save, and that'll save it. I'm not worried about saving it, so I'm just going to hit Cancel. If I got all my data in there, I can hit Save. I don't want to. We're going to do Cancel. Now, we can go ahead and open up my Excel file. Had we saved it and output it, we would end up with this file. It's got an XML format. It is very important that you use this tool to create the XML. That XML is deliberately formatted to work with these tools. And if you decide to just convert the Excel file into an XML, it's not going to work. And so you can see here, as I click on each one of those boreholes, it's giving you a preview of the data. You can go into it, you can edit that data. You can add new boreholes if you need to add on to the data. Which I'm doing here. Click Save. Let you know that it's been successfully saved. You can now see that we have that 11 test up here. I can edit it again, add more information if I wanted to. We have the soil pattern information, the USCS and ASHTO information. I can right click on this and copy it. So if I have two boreholes that are really close to each other, so I'm able to copy the information from one borehole into a new borehole. I can also delete boreholes by right clicking on the borehole and going to delete. So now I'm going to close this. I'll show you the Excel file that you can use to create the XML using the Geotech Data Manager. So all you'll do is go through each one of these tabs, fill out the information with borehole ID, and be able to pull that right in. So I'm going to do another test and show you what that looks like. I'm not going to fill out a lot of the data in here. It's a little bit time consuming, obviously. We can set what type of borehole it is, date, elevation, so on and so forth. So I'm going to save this into our project, and there it is, browse. Navigating to our project, and I'm just going to stick this in the Geotech folder. So now we can open the Geotech Data Manager again, and we can go to Import. This first one up here is actually the file type that we had, but this can also pull in historical data using the borehole navigator sheets or the SPT sheets. Both of these require modification, so if you need to do this, please skip with us. So now I'm going to open and import that file. So import, go to the correct file, put in the Geotech, there it is, and there's our test file. You can see it says test, and you can see our borehole ID is in there. So we can save if we made any changes. Click save. We didn't, but that's okay. I can now save as and save that out as the XML. I'm going to call it test 11111. And you can see that file was created right there. I'm going to delete it so we don't get it mixed up with anything. Now, let's say that we want to go ahead and put boreholes into this file. We're going to go to Browse, and we're going to select auger boring or SPT. I'm going to use the auger boring. Click Open. We want to use the surface file as the elevation, so I'll select that. And I'm going to walk through each one of these. You can select all of them or whatever you want to. You can see we have the place 2D, place 3D, place sample lines, which I believe are called cross-section cut lines in open roads. And you can group the boreholes together, makes it easier for deletions later. Alright, we're going to put the 2D in, click to place, it's done. You can zoom in and see we have our 2D symbol in there. So now I'm going to do this again, and this time we're going to add our 3D to it. Same thing, we're selecting the surface as our elevation, selecting the 3D only, and we're placing that. Take a second or two. And there it is. Now I'm going to rotate this in 3D so you can actually see this. And zoom in. You can see all 10 of these are in here. The cylinders are built. Now I'm going to flip that back to our plan view. Just sits right on top of where it's supposed to. So now what I'm going to do is do this one more time, and we are going to add our sample lines. It's letting you know that you're adding the sample lines, and it's using the information off of the XML sheet. We can place the borings. We can change our left and right sample, which is the extents that it's going to look on the left and right for the borehole. And we now have sample lines at each of those boreholes. Now, just want to quickly show you the group command. So I'm going to undo this. Going back to get our XML, I'm going to go ahead and select all three. Forgot my survey. Forgot my surface. So as you can see, I can select all three of those and click place. And it's going to do all three of those individual steps we did before in one fell swoop. And there it is. We have our 2D block, we have our 3D element, and our sample lines. So now I'm just going to move back to the plan view of this. So I can go to Home, go to Profile Section View, select Section View, and we're going to create a multi-view. It's going to take the sample line and show you the profile of the surface. There's a lot of information that you can change in here. The only thing I normally change is this section view style. You can turn on grid, turn off grid, change the exaggeration of north and south. There's more information here. As you go down, you can change a lot of information about this. We don't necessarily need to do that. So I'm just going to stick this off to the side. Scroll in, you can see that surface profile in each of these and your alignment number, where that sample line is. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to pull that borehole data into this so we can actually see the boreholes. And you can see where the center line is. So now we're going to go back to section view again, and do project objects to multi-view section view, multiple section view. I'm going to click on one of these green borders. It doesn't matter which one I use. As you can see, it's set to 0. The further out that you make that, the more things that it's going to project to that sample line. That's not really what we want to do. We want just the items that hit that sample line. So when we're looking at blocks, what we don't want to do is to pull in the 2D. So I'm going to turn off core, which is our 2D block that goes in. Once that's done, we'll click OK. Now, this is really important. You have to make sure that you turn off that first checkbox column. You can individually select these and set them to the data, set them for receiving the data. It's kind of a slow process to go through, but if you click that header at the top, you can actually select the whole column and set it to the correct one. As you can see, I selected the 24-hour. We have some 0 waters in here. If you click one and then hold shift and click down, it's going to select a whole group. But if you use the control key, you can select individual ones, which is what I'm doing now. Then all you have to do is set one and it will set the rest of them. We're setting that to the 0 hour. And everything looks good. The 24s are the 24s, the 0s are the 0s. We click OK. Now what we're going to do is go to our cylinders. Same thing, we turn off that first row. We don't want to affect our plan view. We are going to select our cylinder data so that it is able to attach that data. We are also going to go ahead and select our label for those cylinders. Click OK. And we'll do this one more time. Again, turn off that first one. It creates a weird little flag on the plan view that we don't want. Now we're going to select the point data and the point label. Click OK. Everything looks good. We've turned off that flag. And now we can go ahead and you can turn these off if you want to. There's nothing in them. You can see that right here, 0, 0, 20 of 30. And the only reason it says 20 or 30 is because we turned off the 2D that it was picking up. So we can go ahead and click OK. We now have the boreholes in here and our label flags so that when we add the data to it, it'll go ahead and fill it out. You can see that these borders have kind of overlapped each other. It's not a big deal. All we have to do is select one of them, any of them, doesn't matter, and go up to the update view. So select one, update view, update group layout, and that will reshift everything so that it looks nice and neat. And you can see we do not have any flags. So we've got a whole bunch of placeholders ready to go. Now what we're going to do is go back to the FDOT tab. we're going to do the place borehole labels. We're going to browse to our XML again, select the auger boreholes. We're going to select the alignment that we're using. So we'll select that one. Click Place Label Data. It's going to zoom out, do its thing, zoom back in. There we go. We got all the coloring in. We got our borehole label in. We have each of the strata numbers in. AutoCAD is a little weird on its wireframe, 2D wireframe, which is why you get that extra line on some. It's something that AutoCAD hasn't given me an answer to yet. So you can play with this a little bit by changing the how it's displaying it. That's conceptual. You can do hidden, and realistic. None of them look better than the standard 2D that I have it set to. We can see our date and time for our water levels. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo a bunch of this and show you what that flag looks like. So all I did was get rid of our multi-view for our cross sections. I'm just going to recreate that. I'll show you what it looks like with a grid on. We can go ahead and place that multi-view. As you can see, we now have a grid in each of these. We're going to do our projection. I'll show you, go through it one more time, turning off the flag, setting our data. Again, what we're doing is setting our data points and our labels for each of the elements. You can see here, puts it in, stretches that grid, looks good. Same thing, we've got a little crowding. You can select any of them again, hit that update button, takes care of it. Go back to the FDOT tab, and add our labels to it. Again, we'll select the XML, select our alignment that we're working with. It's going to zoom out, do its thing. There we go. Now, if we want a little more room, we can change our scale. See, that helps quite a bit. Kind of makes things a little bit smaller. It does come at us with the view, but definitely looks better. We can click one of our borders, do that update. Everything fits back in again. Now we're just looking at individual ones. There's a little bit of a conflict in that one, but that can be modified later. A little conflict there. The rest of them look good. Now what I'm going to do is back off and show you some other examples. Gotta find a good spot to jump back to. Got the drawing back down to the absolute base that I want to start with. Now what I'm going to do is show you what that grouping looks like. So by selecting one, we actually select the boreholes of the entire XML that we pulled in. Just allows you to delete things a lot quicker, quickly check and get rid of things. If you didn't do that, and we had it in normally, which I'll show you now, at our 2D, and you wanted to walk that back, what you would end up doing is hitting the undo button. And as you click the undo, it would remove one at a time, which if you've got a lot of boreholes, that takes a lot of time. So the grouping just makes it nice and quick. And so that's what that grouping does. So this is an example of if you forget to uncheck the core information, what that will look like. So now I'm going to go ahead and load all our data, get my 2D, 3D, and my sample lines. Good there. So now I can go ahead and add my section views. I'm not going to mess with that. We'll place them back out here again. We'll do the projection, and this is where we can make it get squirrely. So if we don't check that first column, it's going to add flags, and you'll see that in a minute. Not really worried about setting up all the data. I can uncheck all this and just show you how the 2D gets projected in there, but might as well see worst case. So we'll click OK. This is kind of worst case. You didn't mess with anything. You get this 2D projection. We're going to update the grouping. See the flag sticking up. We've got another 2D element there at the bottom in the brown. And then, because we didn't check the first checkbox and uncheck those, we end up with these flags at the end. And yeah, you can kind of see it's a mess. So I'm going to back that off. So to show you an example of what happens when that projection limits get high, what I'm going to do is create another borehole off of my first borehole. We don't have cut line there, so it's going to go and pick that information up and display that in the cross sections. And when I scroll in, you can see that it has pulled in that other borehole. The flags are because I didn't actually go through and update all of the information. So now what I'm going to do to clean this up a little bit is I'm going to redo our projections. I'm going to knock that up a little bit and go ahead and clean up as much as I can the data so that we can actually see what the final product would look like with a extra borehole that isn't on a cut line and won't have that extra data in it. Kind of representing something else that would be in that right of way or along the alignment that is going to get pushed from where it's supposed to be onto that cut line by using that slider. So I'm going to run through the data. All of them I've labels and everything and get that set up, and that's going to take just a minute. I'll show you the difference between the two displays real quick by going up. So you can see now that we have 2 boreholes in here. The one that's been colored is the one that wasn't pulled in because of the left and right. Again, it's a copy. There was no data for it, so it wasn't going to fill it out and color it in. But it shows you that it will pull in things that aren't necessarily in that group or didn't hit that line. It shows you that it'll pull things in when it doesn't hit the line if you move those percentages out. So there it is. So the big takeaway from this is, as long as you aren't messing with that slider, it's not going to push objects that don't cross your sample line onto your cross sections. So the last thing that I want to show you is the SPT file. So if we pull in one of the SPT XML files, you can see data's a little bit different. We actually have blow count information. We've got strata information, a little more detailed on this particular one. We've got a few boreholes in here. Now, this is not the boreholes for this file, so they're going to end up getting pushed out quite a bit, and I can still show you that though. So we're going to add our 2 and set our surface. Now you saw right there where it popped up and gave me that warning. That's because those particular points are off of the surface. So I'm going to run it again, but this time without the surface, and let it just pull that data directly out of the XML file. So we're going to place those. Notice there's nothing there in our plan view. So zoom out, zoom in. Here are those SPT files. Notice the symbol's a little bit different. And I can kind of pan that and show you the differences in depth and so on. And there's our water, there's our individual cylinders. And now I can rotate back and go ahead and get rid of those. And that's it. Thank you for joining me. Please feel free to go to our support page and put in a ticket with our service now. That is the absolute best way to get a hold of us if you're having issues. Thank you so much for joining me for this class.
All right there. Thank you, everyone. Again, I put out a notification there during the video, but I apologize to everyone. It seems like, we were experiencing some sort of audio issue where it was quiet for a moment, and then the audio overlapped while it was trying to resync with the videos, what it seemed like. But please have no fear. I will go through and make sure that the original audio did not have that effect in it or that issue. And then when we post this to our website, that it is full and complete. If you want to go back and catch any portion of that that you missed. We do have some time right here. If anybody wants to put in any questions, I didn't see any that were issued during the session there. So please, now is your time to put in your question, and we do have James on the line to help us out with anything. Now I'm going to leave this here for a moment, but I don't see anything coming in. This is one of those Times when the preacher's up in the front and says, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you, Ryan.
There you go. I got some. There's signs of life. All right. Well, James, here, why don't you come on and I mean, we've made the time, so it's a valid session for certificates. So, James, if you want to come on in and give any last words or anything like that, I will present our safety slide here, our obligatory don't text, don't call. It's the law. Put it down, please, please, please. And then James, the floor is yours, my friend. Yep.
So this project's been a long project, and I'm not sure what's going on with the audio, but we will have it fixed before it's posted online for everyone. I'll be going through and seeing if I can figure out what's going on as well. I do apologize for that if it's something on our end, but yeah, I think this tool, if you guys are using AutoCAD, is going to be a great resource and make your life a lot easier and be able to recreate in AutoCAD what we are creating in the Bentley tools. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable with doing that, you can always hit us up on our ServiceNow requests, and we will get to all of your questions and tickets and whatnot as quick as possible.
There we go. So there are no questions that have come in. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Happy and Merry Christmas for the new holiday season here. And don't forget to join us next week at December 12th at 10 a.m. when we cover FDOT Connect 2023 Geotech tools. So the other side of the fence, so to speak. So, all right, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time.